What's up, my friends? NFL Week 9 is here. We've got 11-day games, 2 primetime games, lots of bets to make. And in this video, I'm going to give you at least one player prop for every game. And there's a bunch of other stuff to talk about. So good looking week of the NFL. Lots been happening in the news. Let's get to it. No time to waste. I'm over here on Underdog today. I'll be using this here and there while I'm looking at a lot of player props. You're also going to see me on myspreadyedge.com because I love to do my research right inside these player cards, try to figure out if there's any betting angles, can shop the odds, figure out where the best place to play every play is. Let's get to it. I'm a little concerned this one could end up being a bloodbath. Vikings have no Carson Wentz. That could be a blessing at this point. Looks like J.J. McCarthy potentially returning as the starting quarterback. And because I think there could be a blowout here in Detroit with the Vikings heavy favorites at home, could care less about the divisional matchup at this point. These teams are going in opposite directions. And there's multiple player props that we can target because of this large spread and heavy favorites. Let me dig in. History shows offenses score a lot of points. They win by a lot of points. The running backs score a lot of touchdowns. It's a good game for David Montgomery to get back in the end zone. And Jahmyr Gibbs has been a lock and load touchdown player all season for the most part, his entire career. Popped off last game, 17 carries, a buck 36 and 2 touchdowns, 3 catches for 82 out of the backfield. And time again, showed why he needs to be on the field for 80% of the snaps. David Montgomery blew 2 early pass protection spots, and he ended up one of them being sack fumble, and the other was a blown play. Jared Goff got obliterated. It was not a good look for the veteran, who's usually pretty good in pass pro. And the result was Gibbs playing the majority of the snaps throughout, important third down situations, red zone opportunities. It was the Gibbs show. I don't think much changes going forward. The team knows by now that he is an elite running back, not even just the better of the two. He's one of the top 3 or 4 in the entire NFL. And last season, we were starting to see Gibbs kind of take over at the end of the season. A buck 09, 117, 139. Then in the playoffs, a 105. Starts off this season and just has been quite volatile. But I think last game was a reminder he's an alpha in this league. I think higher than 74.5 rushing yards is a very interesting play. Now, one of my favorite time and time again plays is Jared Goff, 2+ passing touchdowns whenever the Lions are at home. And let me show you. So this is Jared Goff this season, 7 games, 2+ touchdowns, and 4 of 7. MySpareEdge.com. I'm going to click the home filter. You can see 5-2, and he had 1 against Tampa. Again, last week, it was the Gibbs show. He ran them all in. But then last season, you go and you look at Jared Goff at home, 2+ passing touchdowns in 6 of the last 7 games. Started off a bit rocky. What do you know? Tampa, 0 against them. Tampa's got his number a little bit passing-wise. So anyways, if it pops up over here on Underdog, 2+ passing touchdowns, Jared Goff, very interesting. I'm not on any of the Vikings pass catchers this week. Just a little concerned with quarterback switch. Well, let's move on to the next game. Colts on the road against the Patriots. Interestingly enough, I think the Colts win this one on the road, cover the 3-point spread. They're the second best team in the AFC right now behind the Chiefs. Basically, they do everything the Bills do, but a little bit better. Play a little bit better defense. Try to stop giving up the big play. Run the ball a ton and run it well. And then protect the football at quarterback. I think maybe the only edge they have there, you haven't seen it as much this year, as the 2024 MVP, Josh Allen, being able to make plays in crunch time. We still are waiting to see when the team needs it, can Daniel Jones win a game for his team in the fourth quarter or overtime? We've seen time and time again, Josh Allen in the playoffs, one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history in playoffs. The stats back it up. His team can't win the games when they matter the most, but he plays to the level that needs to be played at to win those games. Quite the oxymoron. Is that the right term? Who cares? I don't care who the opposing team is. Jonathan Taylor is going to continue to score touchdowns. You're not going to have to twist my arm too hard here to get me to take the over for the rush and receiving at 116.5. You know, he's been cashing the 94.5 rushing yards left and right. What I do like to see this season, though, is he's putting in some receiving yards, and he has an opportunity here anytime he catches the ball 2+ times, which he does every single game this season, to put together some really nice-looking combined yardage games. Any touch he can take at 50, 60 yards. Now, in Underdog, we get the projection at 116.5. That's cashed in 5 of the last 8 games. If you went just to the rushing yards, he narrowly missed out the one game here at 94.5. There's just a lot to like from Jonathan Taylor. It's hard not to have anything on him for this type of game. All right, Daniel Jones, as weird as it gets, 250 and a half passing yards looks interesting. It's so odd to say that, but everyone under the sun is throwing for 250 plus against the Steelers, and he's done pretty well at this number as well. But listen to these numbers. I got them listed here. Jordan Love threw for 360 against the Steelers. Joe Flacco, 342. Dylan Gabriel, 221. That's under this mark, but he did hit the over by 32 yards on his 189 and a half passing projection. Carson Wentz, yeah, the Carson Wentz, threw for 350. Drake May, 268. Sam Darnold, 295, obliterated his line. And Justin Fields in week 1 threw for 218, which is equivalent to throwing for 500 yards for him. And he hit his over by almost 50 yards. So two guys not known for throwing the football very much, Dylan Gabriel and Justin Fields, obliterated their player props that were in the 170s and 180s. And every single quarterback, all 7 of 7 quarterbacks, have hit the over this season on their passing yards projection. That's an absurd stat line. So as much as I like Jonathan Taylor, and he's a fine option, I am going to be looking at Daniel Jones this week. Just makes too much sense. What a time to be alive, my friends. Let's move on. Denver and Houston, the battle of the defenses. Could be an ugly football game. Who knows what we get here? 2 lockdown corners. Stingley for Houston. Patrick Surtain for Denver. Do they negate Cortland Sutton and Nico Collins on the field? They could. You know, the more I look at this game, the more I start looking at kind of these secondary and tertiary players as the only people I would even bet on. I don't want too much to do at all with the starters, the mains, the primaries, the 1s and 2s. I mean, I don't even know where to go with some of these players. Yes, Bo Nix is averaging 225 and a half, but the only quarterback they hit the over against the Texans for their passing yards line was Matt Stafford in week 1. I suppose the best play for Bo Nix this week would be his rushing yards. You know, Houston Texans defense getting after him. Pass protection breaks down. He has to tuck it and run it against man coverage. You know, linebackers, everyone's turned away from the quarterback and he gets a 20-yard run off the rip. I mean, that would be a perfect world. For what it's worth, there's been 3 quarterbacks that hit the over this season, 22, 23, and 33 yards. Baker, Cam Ward, and Mac Jones, of all people. I don't like it, but I got to have a pick for every game. And I'm going to be honest, I am struggling to find what that pick's going to be. You know, similarly, CJ Stroud continues to tuck the football and run it upfield, and he's had 22 plus rushing yards in 6 of 7 games this year. We did not see this last season. And I think part of it's because, you know, no Tank Dell, Nico Collins in and out of the lineup, no running game, and they're forced to throw the football, and no one can get open, and he tucks it and runs it. Now, the thing that makes this a tough situation is that Denver has only allowed 1 quarterback to hit the over on their rushing yards this year. That's Dak Prescott last week on a 6.5-yard rushing line, ended up with 31 rushing yards. They held Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, Jake Browning, Justin Fields, Justin Hurts, Jackson Dart. All 6 quarterbacks until they faced Dak Prescott. They held all 6 of them to the under on their rushing yards, and only one of them had more than 11, and that was Justin Fields with 31. So it's a horrific rushing matchup for quarterbacks. But again, I don't know what else to play here. Maybe the interceptions are interesting for both quarterbacks. This is such a difficult game to bet on. You know, maybe the best play is just to take Miami Fairbairn and say, hey, go get 7.5, go get us 8+ kicking points. You know, 2 field goals and we're almost there. Still need 2 touchdowns. Again, my goal in these videos is to provide you as much information and insight as I can. Hopefully a smidge of entertainment. Trying to be super focused today on the info though. So if you're liking it, could you do me a favor? Could you like this video? Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm here 7 days a week here on YouTube. Live shows Monday, Thursday, Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I'll be live this Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern to break down the 11-game Sunday slate, building out ladder bets, parlays, touchdown picks and parlays, a 1 p.m. and a 4 p.m. parlay. All Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. Back to the picks we go. Next game, we got Michael Penix Jr. likely returning at quarterback this week after, and also Drake London returning, very important, after Kirk Cousins really blew his opportunity to potentially take the job. And maybe I was just ahead of myself, but I thought there was a shot there that if he showed up, he was going to have a chance to take the job from him. Anyways, this game's in New England. Tough spot for Atlanta. New England heavy favorites. Minus 255 for the game. You know, I don't know what to do here with some of these players like Michael Penix Jr. coming off an injury. We haven't seen him do that before. Kayshon Boutte, you know, continues to have these big catches. And that 36.5 receiving yards line continues to be too low, maybe 43, 93, 55, 75. The target volume is low. The receptions are low, but high equity targets he receives. Atlanta defense pretty good. Drake May at 228.5. I think that speaks volumes of how good this defense has been for the Falcons because, again, that's another low looking line. And they are at home, which makes this even more interesting to me. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going full screen so I could read it off. I want you to focus up here. As much as I like the Drake May yardage and how low it is, listen to this data. This past week, Tua absolutely shredded the Falcons, who looked like they gave up. That being said, he only threw for 206 passing yards. That was, my friends, the most passing yards a quarterback has had against the Falcons in 2025. Listen to these numbers. Mac Jones, 152. Josh Allen, 180. Marcus Mariota, 156. Bryce Young, 121. J.J. McCarthy, 158. Baker Mayfield, 167. They have held every single quarterback in the NFL under 180 yards. And the only two big names there, I guess, would be Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield, but it's still, for them, 180 and 167. The other four were at 158 or fewer. Now, Drake May, coming in hot right now, is at home. Falcons are starting to stumble a little bit, but I don't know if I can do it, despite the fact that this is such a low line. Now, you know who I'm ready to buy back into? Buy the dip, my friends. Buy low. Buy low. Bijan Robinson, 64.5. You kidding me? Even his receiving yards is low. Let's look up Bijan. Let's take a look at how it's done at these performance levels all season with Michael Penix Jr. under center. So again, we could take that Miami game out. That was no Penix Jr. Let's see how he's done the rest of the year at 64.5. That's been decent. Rush attempts, okay. Rushing touchdowns, only had 2, but he's had several receiving touchdowns. And this is where I wanted to look at. The receptions this week. Not too shabby to run out the 4.5 receptions, but here's where it gets really fun. I think it's the receiving yards, man. So much upside for the receiving yards. Long receptions been really good this year as well. I wish this was 14.5 on Underdog. What a steal that would be. You can get 14.5 out there, by the way. Not a bad look, my friends. Not a bad look. Just such a good playmaker. Finds ways to get down the field with the football. Makes plays with the ball in his hands. This looks like a really interesting play. Now, again, you can run out the higher than 15.5 longest reception. You can run out the receiving yards. Hey, you can even grab a lower line if you want to do that. Totally up to you. The world is your oyster. But I think that Bijan gets back into your good graces through the air this week. And running backs against the Patriots have actually done quite well catching the football out of the backfield. I'm not going to have a ton of NFL picks personally, and here's why. Number one, I lean heavily on my betting model, and for good reason. Up on the screen right now, you can see how my models have done for NBA and NFL. Number two, I think there's a staff member in Discord that's a little bit better at making picks for the NFL specifically. I might have the edge in NBA, where I'm 20-5 on the season for my VIPs. 20-5 ain't no joke. Yes, I'm up 12.78 units in NFL, and my model's up 10.6 units. And if you want those, or you want that staff's picks, by the way, he went 7-0 last week and 2-1 in Thursday Night's Football primetime game. Cashed out a little parlay and Lamar Jackson over 36.5 longest pass. Anyways, grab Opto EV picks for NFL, VIP link down below. Grab my betting models and my picks down below, VIP picks link. Tons of profit waiting there for you, my friends. A ton. And I will say this, if you join up, slow and steady wins the race. A lot of straight picks, a lot of education behind these picks. We want you to actually profit using the VIP. It's not just a bunch of parlays. Every single play we post also gets a link that you can click to enter right into your book, so you don't have to search for it. That's annoying. All right, we've got the Niners and Giants, 1 o'clock. Carolina, Green Bay, 1 o'clock. Chicago, Cincinnati, 1 o'clock. Chargers and Titans, 1 o'clock. And then we're going to bang out these 4 p.m. games. So CMC left me brokenhearted at the altar. I had him at 43.5 receiving yards last week, and what did he finish with? 43. Oh, what a gut punch. And I saw something I did not like in this game, and Mac Jones continuously looked down the field and forced the ball. I'm going to be honest, looked very much like a backup quarterback. Kind of has for a couple of weeks now. And he continued to force the football 15, 20, 25 yards down the field. Incomplete pass, overthrows, underthrows, almost interceptions, when Christian McCaffrey was sitting there wide open underneath. Now, there's 2 trains of thought here. The first is they go through the game footage and they say, Mac, you big galoof, you had CMC open. 2023 Offensive Player of the Year. 2022? I can't remember. Like 9 times. Take the yards the defense gives you. Let us move up and down the field. Because here's what happened. He kept forcing the ball down the field. The linebackers, the safeties, everybody was just dropping back. Soft coverage, leaving it open underneath. And he wasn't throwing to CMC. CMC could have had so many of these like 6-7 yard catches. And hey, 6-7 yards a pop in the NFL ain't no joke. 2 of those and it's a first down. But on top of that, what happens? The defense has to start respecting it. Linebackers can't drop so far in coverage, which opens up the intermediate passes to those crossing patterns, those tight ends across the middle. But because they weren't giving any room back there past 10, 12 yards, the underneath was open and he kept making bad throws. So do they fix it after all the game footage? Does the defense have to respect it and creep up? If so, CMC probably had himself a good day because of it. And if they go soft coverage again against them because they think, the defense thinks, all right, this is how you beat him. He makes bad choices. There's upside for days in the receiving yards line. And listen, the thing is about this one, you can't be scared in the NFL for betting. It's such a volatile sport. I just showed you all the profit the VIPs have through NBA. Make no mistake, 22 units of profit through NFL 8 weeks is pretty darn good. But through 9 days of the NBA, it's at 21 and a half units profit. Now, again, we've had 8 NFL Sundays for 22 units. We've had 9 NBA days for 21 and a half units. That's pretty freaking good for both sports. VIPs are feasting. But the thing about NFL, you only get one big day per week, Sunday being that day, where we have a ton of player props. It's not as easy to make as much money. And because of that, I think we have so much recency bias over what happened last week. Player goes for 150. Okay, lock and load. This guy's great for the rest of the year. CMC chalks you at 43 and a half. You get scared, you don't touch his prop the next week. You can't do that with NFL. It's a volatile sport, a lot of variance. Scared money don't make money in this sport, my friends. It just doesn't. NBA, you can rely on these trends a little bit more. NFL, not as trends based. But I digress. I'm leaving it in there. I think it's an interesting play. Again, all of these props, nothing official. Can't lock anything in. Just trying to help you out as much as I can. My VIPs will get my locks of the week. George Kittle got back in good graces last week. 5 catches, 4 for 43 and a touchdown. Should be more of that going forward. He's such an elite playmaker at the position. Jackson Dart struggled a little bit against Philly last week. Once they lost the balance of no Scattaboo in the backfield, he struggled. And maybe he has to lean on his rushing yards a little bit more in this one. And they're like, hey, all right, go ahead. Run the football if you need to, but just protect your dome piece and your necklace. That being said, that's quite the high line at 36 and a half. The more I look at the rest of these props in this game, the more I want nothing to do with them, my friends. Let's move on. So Josh Jacobs is very inefficient this year. Very inefficient. 13 carries, 55 yards, 13 carries, 33 yards. The only thing he is consistent with this year, the touchdowns. Now, I don't have a touchdown prop here on Underdog. If one pops up, I'd be interested. We got an issue brewing out here in Carolina. So Chuba Hubbard averaging just over 2.5 yards per carry since his return 2 games ago. And in those games, Rico Dowdle, almost 5.5 yards per carry. And we all saw Rico Dowdle go off for 200 plus total yards 2 weeks in a row when Chuba was hurt. I think we're going to continue to see much of the same. And the lines are kind of highlighting this week. We've got 6.5 rush attempts from Chuba Hubbard. That's quite low, my friends. I mean, look at this. He had 14 and 12 attempts the last 2 games, and they have his attempt at 6.5. And a lot of this has to do with the interview that Dave Canales had. He legitimately said, we cannot ignore the fact that Rico has been exceptional. That 6.5 rush attempt line is very low. I do want to hit the over for that, but I'm going to be honest. I am incredibly concerned that Rico Dowdle is just a better back. And here's why I'm looking at this specific line. So 8 carries last week. He still hammered out 54 yards. This just seems low to me, the 48.5. I also think the rush attempt line might be a little low as well. You can't ignore when a head coach says something like that. I think I'll run out the 48.5 before the rush attempts. You never know. But all it takes is one 20-yard carry, and this one's looking fresh. On the Packers side, how the heck do you figure out who's going to catch the football from week to week? Golden had 3 catches for 4 yards, Dub 3 for 44. Tucker Kraft went absolutely nuclear, my friends. Now, recency bias will tell me that this is the play to run with, but I'm telling you right now, good luck. Pendulum swings back. It's the highest line he's had all year. Would it not be the most NFL thing on earth for him to be a very popular pick after such a great week and then just fall flat in his face? Goodness gracious, that's NFL in a nutshell. 240.5 passing yards for Jordan Love. Interesting. I don't know what else I can do here. It's nice to see Christian Watson get back in this season, looking decent. 4 catches, 85 yards. Limited in practice, though, although I do think that's a little designed, but it's nice to see him get back out there after the ACL injury. 2 more games. Let's breeze through them. I don't think there's a ton to bet on here. And it's kind of crazy, man. The target volume right here for Jamar Chase is absolutely absurd. Bears versus the Bengals. Long reception, 25.5. Interesting in previous years, but, not getting a ton of downfield targets. Joe Flacco shows up, 12, 23, 19 targets. Now, I think there's going to be a little bit of a pendulum swing this week. And what I mean by that is this. Team puts up 38, loses to the Jets 39-38. Nobody else really did much. T. Higgins, 2 freaking targets the entire game, one of them being a 44-yard catch. At some point, teams are going to take Chase out of the game. And you kind of saw that in the second half, believe it or not. And if that happens, again, if that carryover happens, teams literally are just like, okay, Flacco, all you want to do is throw to Chase. We're going to take away the big play from Chase, make you throw it to other people. And they did that. The Jets did that. They successfully did that the final 20 minutes or so of the game. And you saw the Bengals struggle because of it. They had to run the football a lot more, and they did so effectively because the Jets are terrible. But if he's not going to go out there and get 20 targets, will he get there with the yards? I mean, he had 19 last week and still did not get over 93.5 receiving yards. That being said, it's hard to ignore this type of volume. I just think there's some value elsewhere this week. I'm not going to ignore it, though. I'm done making that mistake. What I do think is interesting is the 25.5 long reception being under, as weird as that is. I'll have to circle back to him. Over 8.5 receptions, probably a fine option, but I don't have that here on Underdog. If the receptions prop does pop up, that would be my preferred over the yardage. Give me the over 8.5. Still think he'll get 10, 12, 15 targets, and he could rack up 9, 10 catches easily. I mean, T. Higgins has got to be that guy that alleviates that pressure, too, and they need to throw him the football more. He had 8 and 10 targets the first 2 weeks with Joe Flacco, and he looked better. And then he goes for 1 catch, 44-yard big play, and that's it, man. What the heck is that? 1 more target the whole game? That's garbage. Flacco messed up. I think there's value in this line. I think there's really good value in the long reception. I don't know what to do here. We'll circle back. Got 48 hours before game day. Question for you all. Can you bet on the Caleb Williams player props this week? Matchup is elite. Absolutely elite. Let me read off the quarterbacks for you. It's been kind of nutty. Bring up my notes. So, oddly enough, here are the quarterbacks against the Bengals. First one, Joe Flacco. How funny, week 1. How things have changed in the NFL. 290 yards against the Bengals. Hit the over. Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, the Trevor Lawrence. 271 passing yards. Hit the over. Carson Wentz in week 3. Listen, they lost like 48-10. The Bengals did to the Vikings. This was in London, I believe. And Wentz didn't have to throw the football in that game. Actually, I can't remember if that was London. Anyways, only had 173 passing yards in that game, hit the under. And that was the only under against the Bengals. Bo Nix had 326. Jared Goff, 258. Jordan Love, 259. Joe Flacco, so weird. Again, hit the over against the Bengals. Aaron Rodgers, 249. Justin Fields, 244. Again, that's worth 4,000 passing yards in a single game. That's 8 quarterbacks against them have hit the over. 7 of 8 quarterbacks against them have hit the over. I like it. I like Caleb Williams this week. They just give up so many passing yards. It's hard not to like it. I think the 237.5 is interesting. The long pass at 36.5 could be interesting. Big plays left and right here against them. The only spot it really gets tricky is the fact that they've given up 2+ passing touchdowns to all but 2 quarterbacks this year. And then we don't have a passing touchdown line here. And also Caleb Williams has gone 2 games without a passing touchdown. Yeah. So because of this, because of all those yards, I think Rome Odunze is in an interesting spot this week. Receiving yards, maybe long reception, big play. Somebody's going to rack up the yards for Chicago. Can't think of a better option. All right, last 1 p.m. game. Let's look at the Chargers and the Titans. Ladd McConkey really back in the zone, getting a lot more snaps out of the slot, and you're seeing the production the last 3 games follow suit. They knew they had to get this kid going. 9 targets, 15 targets, 10 targets. He's getting some down the field. He's had 7, 9, and 6 catches, 167, 88. Touchdown in 3 of the last 4 games. And now his line's at 63.5. And maybe some of this is baked into the fact that, Tennessee is just butt cheeks Yeah, you heard it. Butt cheeks. But you're starting to see the lines on Keenan Allen starting to lower as well. Target volume, 14 in that game, but 7 and 5, 2 of the last 3. The odd man out lately has been Quentin Johnson after starting the year so hot. No catches, 2 catches for 30. I believe he missed one of those games actually against Miami. But I digress. That's probably the only play I'd look at. I'm not too interested in Justin Herbert this week. I just worry about this being a competitive game. Kamani Vidal just scored a touchdown is an interesting play as well. Continues to punch him in. Had another one last week. Caught one previously, a couple weeks ago. And I think we're in line for something like this. 18, 20 carries. We've got a road game, but the Titans are just so bad. I can't even begin to tell you how bad they've been. I think because it's a road game, I lean heavily on primary wide receivers on the road. Lab McConkey, likely the better option than Kamani Vidal. All right, moving on. 4 p.m. slate. We finally get to talk about the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Very excited, my friends. I hope you're enjoying today's video, though. Could you do me a favor? Like the video, subscribe to the channel. 7 days a week, you get me. Sunday morning live stream, 9 a.m. Let's get to it. We got more picks to make. So, Puka Nacua, full practice, my friends, Thursday. What a good sign. I don't think they'll be putting him out there if he wasn't full go, because it's the Saints. The Saints are not good. They're not even in the same stratosphere. Atmosphere? Stratosphere. Level? I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. This is the type of game where you leave Puka Nacua on the sideline if he's not healthy because it's the Saints and you can beat him without Puka Nacua. If Puka's playing, which it looks like he is, he's fine. And I think we could bet on him as if he's fine. And I think it could be kind of one of those things where it's like, welcome back, Puka Nacua. Over 18 and a half first quarter receiving yards, over 48 and a half receiving yards in the first half, maybe even the better play. And then overall for the game, if it does stay competitive, heck, Puka's going to obliterate this line, I think, at 93 and a half receiving yards. Kyren Williams just not been effective this season, at least not like he has been in the past. The volume for rush attempts, 13, 14, 13, 12, just is not there. So oddly enough, 17 and a half rush attempts, I'm looking at lower right now. And I think this is going to be one of those uncomfortable plays as I type in Kyron's name. Now go to his rush attempts, and you're going to see why it's going to be uncomfortable, okay? So start of the season, clearly they were trying to establish the run. They were doing all right. But look at last season. So the playoffs, 16 and 19 carries. But look at last season, my friends. He had so many of these games where they're just like, Kyron, go take over. But you saw the shift in the second half of the year, withstanding these massive carry games. You saw the shift, and it's kind of continued into this season. And I don't know, maybe coming out of the bye, they come back and they're like, let's run the football a ton. Let's get back to our basics and start doing this again. Okay, well then, this is going to get destroyed. This line's going to he's going to finish with like 23 carries. So do what you want with that information. But I will say, I do think they keep throwing the football more. It's the strength this year. It's the strength. Interesting play here. Alvin Kamara, receiving yards, 50 and a half. He does not get a lot of receptions. And listen, I thought without Kendre Miller, he'd get a lot more this week. He only had 2 catches. He still did have over 20 or 15 and a half yards. He cashed out with 24. Could he do it again? Yeah, I think so. I don't think I like anything else from the Saints, though. That's the thing. So it's like Alvin Kamara over 50 and a half receiving yards or nothing. We do have a changing of the guard. No more Spencer Rattler. Show went 17 for 30 for $128 and a pick. It was brutal. It was ugly. Good luck betting on the Saints. Rams win by 1 million. And maybe that's part of the thinking here, though. Now that I think about it, I'm really talking myself off this play as much as I can now that I think about it. Facing backup quarterback, a low talent level team. Maybe they just don't have to throw the football. And maybe, again, why are they playing Puka? I'm a little confused here. Maybe it's just stats. Just, let him get to all-pro status again. I don't know. Maybe it's just fully healthy. Get him off the injury report then. I think it's such a convoluted situation. This is one of those games where it's like, hey, you make me make picks. Well, you don't make me. I try to stick to the plan here of doing a pick per game or at least talking about the props. I don't know what to pick. I don't want to force it. Hopefully you got some insight from this game. It is what it is. Let's move on. We still got the Bills and Chiefs. That's so much more fun. I've already spent too much time on this trash. Jags, Raiders. Let's go quick. The heck happened to Brock Bowers, man? Oh my goodness. Set the world ablaze last year. He's been an absolute stinker. Is it just Geno Smith? And Geno, by the way, looking worse than he's ever looked. Travis Hunter had a coming out party last week, added to the injury report midweek, though. And he was going to be the guy I was going to talk about. So that's off the table. Hard to like Trevor Lawrence, but man, they're throwing the football a ton. 42 and 48 pass attempts last 2 games. I don't know if they have to do that this week, but that 33 and a half pass attempt mark, It just seems low. Just seems low for a team that continually has to throw the football a ton. I think an interesting play here is the fantasy points play for Geno Smith. He's just been so bad. And you need multiple passing touchdowns to even have a chance to clear the over, and usually combined with a decent amount of yards. And you could see even here against Chicago earlier this year, 2 passing touchdowns, only 117 yards. Still finished under the 16.45 fantasy points. So as much as this is kind of a clunker of a game, this is a very interesting play to me. He'd need 3 passing touchdowns or 250 and then 2 touchdowns and a clean sheet. No turnovers to even still hit the over. Let's move on. Marquee game. Let's get to it. In what could be the matchup, listen, I'm sorry, Colts fans. I still need to see Daniel Jones in the crunch time. In what could be a prelude. Sorry, Patriots fans. Again, Drake May. Got to see him in the playoffs. In what could be the AFC Championship preview. The 2 titans of the AFC, Mahomes, Josh Allen. Despite the fact that I can't stand Joe Brady's play calling for the Bills, this could be a fun game to bet on. I'm going to show you a bunch of player props here. And I just want to say, plus 22 units, NFL models and picks. Plus 21.5 units, NBA models and picks. VIP link right there. Slow and steady wins the race. Handful of props, handful of bets from the models, betting on money lines, things like that, per day from me. Quality over quantity, my friends, and it clearly works. Let's get to it. This is going to be a fun one. We got a 50.5 point total. Or excuse me, 52.5 point total. Bills are 1.5 point underdogs at home. We're going to go right to the 2 previous MVPs. Josh Allen first, then we're going to look at Patrick Mahomes and go from there. Going to be honest here. Think we can throw a lot of trends and things like that out the window for this game and just talk some football. I think there's some gut feels and tummy tingles when it comes to betting on this game. Throw their records out, throw their standings out. This game's going to mean a little bit more to both teams because they know they're facing the cream of the crop in the East. Because they know they're facing the cream of the crop in the AFC. Give me Josh Allen, 2+ passing touchdowns in this one. Think he could get there with fantasy points as well. You never know what the heck they can do. Again, I could care less about what the stats have been this year. You got the reigning MVP in the biggest game of the year. Every year they face the Chiefs are. And they've, for the most part, had the Chiefs number in the regular season. And Josh Allen has had the Chiefs number in the postseason too. It's the team that struggles. In 9 games, both regular season and playoffs, Josh Allen has averaged 255 passing yards, 2.1 passing touchdowns, and only 0.4 interceptions per game against the Chiefs. He's had 5 rushing touchdowns against the Chiefs, and he's averaged about 52 rushing yards per game against the Chiefs. So you're looking at a player averaging over 300 combined yards, almost 3 touchdowns per game. Again, it's just one of those spots where regardless of the Bills' philosophy under Joe Brady's offensive play calling, where they run the football 30 times per game and they limit those deep shots and just try to protect the football, it's one of those games and matchups where Josh is just like, yeah, cool. Okay, Joe, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go make plays. And he just erupts when he faces the Chiefs. And he's done it in the playoffs, too. It's been wonderful to see as a Bills fan. Goodness gracious, man. Please don't waste his prime. We need it. Need a Super Bowl so bad. It's actually been even better against the Chiefs in the playoffs. 4 games, 320 total yards and 3 touchdowns per game with just 1 turnover. He's absolutely outperformed in virtually every single stat category Patrick Mahomes in these head-to-head matchups, both regular and postseason. And yet, the Bills can't get past the Chiefs 4 times in the playoffs, 0-4. Yikes. But that's for another show. This is for sports betting. So for that reason, give me the fantasy points this week because I don't know how he gets there. 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, 60 rushing yards, 300 passing yards, whatever it is. I don't know. So 2+ passing touchdowns, absolutely fine. Fantasy points, 22.75 higher, absolutely fine. So Mahomes is 1-4 against the Bills in the regular season and 4-0 against them in playoffs. In the regular season, 5 games, he's turned the ball over 7 times through the air. Now, I will say this. He's got the best offense he's had around him in years. And I think maybe my favorite is the 28.5 rushing yards. Quarterbacks against the Bills have kind of carved them up this season running the football. Lamar ran for 70 in the season opener. Justin Fields had 49 yards the next week. Spencer Rattler had 49 on a meager 17.5 rushing yard prop. And here's my thinking. Rashee Rice being back really has opened up so much for this offense, Xavier Worthy's healthy, Travis Kelce's healthy, and they're all playing their best football with Patrick Mahomes 3+ passing touchdowns in 4 of the last 5 games. And one of the best things that Patrick Mahomes does, he extends drives with his legs. He's done that so much this season, running for first downs. Heck, he's got 4 rushing touchdowns too. I think the 28.5, you got a volatile atmosphere, a loud crowd out there, Bills Mafia showing up in numbers. 3rd and 12, something where it looks like, of course, they're not going to get it. Bills defense just sacked them, whatever it might be. They play man coverage. You got to try to stop these guys. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, safety over top. All the defensive players have dropped back. Backs are turned to the quarterback. He tucks it and runs it for 20 yards, first down, huge. Just like that, he's almost over his 28.5. I could totally envision something like that happen. Again, I'm throwing away game logs and trends for this one. I think that's an interesting play. Travis Kelce here at 44.5 seems too low. I mean, for the most part, he's done quite well this season at this number. 44.5, my goodness. He's over this year in 7 of 8 games. And the Bills have been tough against tight ends this year, but they also have not faced that many that have been have been good. Not that there's that many to even face. But I'm telling you right now, listen, just gave a vintage performance. He absolutely did. That's well said there, underdog. But take away the trends. Again, I don't want to rely on trends for this game. It just makes sense. You got this veteran, a Hall of Fame quarterback to a Hall of Fame tight end who've had chemistry for a decade in a huge game. And the West and the East for the AFC Conference are very much up for grabs right now. Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, 3-horse race. Patriots, Bills, 2-horse race in the East. Patriots 1 game ahead right now. Have the tiebreaker so far. Doesn't it make sense? Don't you think this would be a game where it's like he's just going to rely on that veteran presence at a line that just seems too low? So for me, Kelce over 44.5 is a very interesting play. Man, Rashee Rice has looked good in his return. That first week only played like 40-something% of the snaps, 7 catches, 42 yards, 2 touchdowns. They fed him the ball on those 40% of the snaps. Last week, plays a much higher snap rate, 9 targets, 9 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Bill's going to have trouble containing him here. I think his fantasy points could be interesting because he could rack up, 7, 10 catches, but he also could have, 60 to 90 receiving yards or 1 or 2 touchdowns. There's just multiple ways that he can get there, so the fantasy points is interesting. I think the least concerned play I have this week is going to be anything Xavier Worthy. Bills have done a good job limiting the big play this year. Where they give up a lot is short game and rushing yards. They can't get off the field on 3rd downs either, which is another reason why I like Mahomes rushing yards a bit. Travis Kelce receiving yards on 3rd down, 3rd and 6, get those 7-8 yard curls. Xavier Worthy, big play guy, thinks the one player they can potentially scheme out of this game. All right, 2 primetime games. I'm going to breeze through these 2 because I spent a lot of time on that Chiefs and Bills game. Also, I'm here Sunday morning at 9 a.m. and Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern for the primetime games too, especially that Monday one. I'm still 72 hours away from even Monday morning. My gosh, 90 hours away from kickoff for Monday Night Football, per this recording time. I'll talk about the Cardinals in Dallas on Monday. Congratulations to everybody. We get to bet on Jackson Smith-Njigba once again, my friends. 100+ yards, rinse and repeat. Long reception, 28.5, rinse and repeat. So tilting last week at 26.5 long reception, finished with a 26-yarder. First time he's had under that number all year. Receiving yards at 97.5. I wouldn't even mind just running out the 89.5, pairing that somewhere else with another play this week. It's hard not to like him for everything. Jane Daniels should return back to full practice a couple days ago. He's going to have a full week in here. And I think that this is just a great week for passing yards, a buy low opportunity. And let me talk about this really quick. Terry McLaurin re-injured his quad. Deebo Samuel is healthy. Terry McLaurin, man, just having a tough season health-wise. But partially this is just because Jaden Daniels, seemingly will be healthy enough to throw the football. But listen to the quarterbacks against the Seahawks. They've had some major games this year. Stroud, 229.5, hit the over. Trevor Lawrence, 258, hit the over. Baker Mayfield, 379, hit the over. Kyler Murray at 200, hit the under. Aaron Rodgers, 203, hit the under. Rattler, 218. Brock Purdy, 277, both hit the over. So quarterbacks are hitting the over against the Seahawks left and right. And every single quarterback has had 33 or more pass attempts this season season against the Seahawks. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that these teams are facing them and then having absolute shootouts. Seahawks are putting up points. Their defense is not good through the air. Pretty good rush defense, though. Ja'Cory Krasky-Merritt just ain't getting it done out of the backfield yet. I'm sorry, he's not. This one's on the road, Sunday Night Football. They're at home, so maybe, JCM, Bill gets a few more carries. The crowd silences the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know. But I like Jaden Daniels over 211.5. I like JSN for virtually everything over. Why wouldn't I? And I'll get to those Monday night picks on the Monday Morning Live show. Please subscribe to the channel. Like this video if you enjoyed it. I hope I kept it very focused. The pace was up today. Lots of analysis for a lot of player props. I wish you the best of luck. Again, VIP link down below. Almost 43 units profit for NBA and NFL. Quality over quantity, my friends. I'll see you on the inside. Let's get paid.